All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the final installment of our Fearless Immunity Masterclass series. This would be the final installment, so there were 5 before this. This has been our work the last month and a half to make this a great resource for you to look back on, for your friends, for your family, for you to share it with them. We really wanted to make a comprehensive toolkit for you to go back to learn how to detoxify your body, how to work out properly, how to get adjusted and maintain a healthy spinal alignment, how to really improve your health for a lifetime. Okay. In getting started, I learned this kind of fun saying a long time ago. I think my dad told it to me. He said, son, listen, if you're over the age of 6 or under the age of 60, you should not ask anyone at any point to feel your muscles. It's just not good for business. And I really feel like that we're going to actually just shatter that and have to make an exception to the rule after people watch this class, because there's going to be muscles bulging everywhere after we go over this awesome fitness plan. So that's the whole goal of this, is to shatter myths today when it comes to fitness and help you understand how to get amazing results in the least amount of time.
Awesome. So this class today, it's not just about, throwing out 6-packs like Oprah, like you get some 6-packs, you get some abs, you get some muscles. Fitness, among every other, parts of your body, including your body composition, plays a huge role in your overall health. Your hormone health, your longevity, your mindset, all of that ties into how you move your body, how you exercise throughout the day. And I think we kind of understand and know the problems that we face nowadays in our society, all the fast food that we're exposed to, how easy it is and convenient it is literally go down the road, stop in any grocery store, any gas station, and you have access to all this stuff. And the stuff we put in our bodies every day, from the nutrition, the toxins, from everything that we're doing, like we talked about in the last class, it just kind of goes on. And so in the first 5 classes, we've really been going through keys to unlock your health in different avenues and different aspects. And we wanted to try to break it down to make it simple for everybody. And there's no better time as right now, as we're in between holidays. I often joke with people and say, don't make the Christmas, New Year's, Thanksgiving, Holly months, make them holidays. Like, have certain days. But now as we're going into Christmas here in a couple of weeks, we want to make sure that we can help give you guys a tool and a game plan as far as how you can succeed and start your new year off on a high rather than a low. In fact, everything in our modern day history is kind of pushing us away from just the stress and the food. And historically, a mandate for survival is, actually moving and doing things on a daily basis.
Sounds good. So let's kind of start. I know everyone kind of knows this. Like, I don't have to probably beat it at a horse by saying that when it comes to Americans and staying lean and mean, we don't do a very good job with that, right? We lead the world in obesity. The number 4 leading cause of death is diabetes in America, which is directly attributed to how we eat and our dietary habits. But I think when I talk about that, 100% of people I talk to who, maybe aren't where they want to be with their health, with their fitness, who have tried things, it's not like they haven't worked on it. Not like they haven't, looked in the mirror and said, I don't like where I am and I want to be better. A lot of them have kind of bashed their heads against the wall, paid a trainer, tried, fad diets, and at the end of the day got little or no results. So that's what this class is going to be on today. If you Google like the best workouts, you're going to find 100 million hits. And I think oftentimes that plethora of information and conflicting information gets confusing for us. So instead of, sticking to a plan or finding something good, we just kind of quit and we give up. We throw our hands in the air and say, I don't know what's right, so I'm not going to do anything. But for starters, we know that exercise is important, right? There was a pretty cool study that was done that showed that there were 4 groups of people: someone who didn't exercise, someone who exercised a little bit, someone who exercised a lot, and then someone who exercised a lot, which is like over 150 minutes per day. So we know that the group that doesn't exercise at all, they have the lowest longevity compared to any group. Someone who exercises a little bit, they cut the risk of early death by 11%. If they exercise a lot, they cut the risk of death by 20%, right, of dying early. The longest group, over 150 minutes a week, you extend your lifespan by an average of 31%. You cut your risk of dying early by 31%. So we know that there's a ton of research on this, that exercising is right. What we're going to go through today is how to do that properly.
So one of the main reasons why we don't work out is laziness. And when we look back at the first masterclass, we talked about creating goals for your life, and having a vision of what you want out of your life. And we can get into motivational stuff here where I can help to motivate you for a short period of time. But for you, you have to have your own internal motivators. Sometimes it's just one, sometimes it's a series of them, but they have to come from within. One of the main psychological aspects of having a motivator is, I've heard someone describe that if you write down what you want, then also write down what you're going to have to give up to get that want. A lot of research in the world of addiction relates to supplementing a new thing for that addiction. It's a trade-off. If you decide on your motivator for working out, but you aren't acting on it, I will tell you that you're going to live in stress because you aren't living out your highest values. And if you value your health here, but your actions are reaching here, you're just going to have some internal struggle and discord in your life, and it's going to wear on you. You take anything, family, marriage, your relationship with God, any kind of spiritual health, as long as there's a gap between where you are and where you want to be, you're not going to be at peace.
And I think the second reason, not only are we tend to be lazy, and I think admitting that is a good first step, but the second thing is, I think, one of the biggest excuses I hear for people not exercising is I don't have time. And I know you all answered that one in your head. That's the biggest excuse that we use. We never have time. I was talking to somebody yesterday and they said, "Oh, I don't have time to go to the gym. I don't have time to do this." I said, "Well, what do you think it takes to exercise? Like, how long do you think it takes?" And if you were like me before I learned a lot about what we're going to talk about tonight, we often think that I have to spend at least an hour in the gym, and then you've got all the time to prep for it, to get there, to drive, to change, to go home. And the reality is, when you look at that, it seems very daunting. And I know it was for me. And we don't think that if we do it in any less than an hour or so, I feel like a lot of times we think, well, I'm not actually going to get benefit from it. So we're going to dispel that kind of myth today and give you some real tools and ways that you can be very efficient with your time and with your exercising. And that is one excuse, especially after tonight, that you can no longer say, "I don't have time." I guarantee you all have time. We just typically waste time, or we waste our time in our transitions from one activity to the next. And the thing with our health, with exercise or with any part of our health, you're either going to make time for it now or you're going to have to make time for it later. Because I guarantee once you lose your health, the number one thing you're going to be thinking about is getting what back? Your health.
One of the other biggies is, obviously, if someone is hurt, if they're physically not capable of exercising, that could be an enormous barrier to exercise. However, one of the main things that when we were, and Dr. Thomas was the brain trust of creating this this beacon in the community of helping the community, is not only changing the structure of someone's spine to be better prepared for exercise, but bringing Dr. Brett into the mix was also a huge proponent of actually addressing injuries, specifically not only acute injuries, but chronic injuries that are related to soft tissue, muscles, ligaments, tendons, that could be an underlying reason why it's difficult to exercise. Carry the torch there.
For me personally, there's nothing worse than getting 6 weeks into a workout routine than getting hurt. Just when you get the mental capacity to be motivated enough to go do a workout, now you have a plan that you're committed to, then you get injured and you're laid up for 4 to 6, 8 weeks, you lose the motivation. You have to kind of re-engage your fire, re-engage your mindset. So, I think one of the most important things that I always try to do is keep people as active as possible within reason. So we are going to show you guys the latest and greatest research on how to get the perfect body that you've always wanted, also how to hopefully live longer and increase your metabolic health. But before we get to it, there's really two important things that make up a good workout, a workout plan. What I like to tell people is the best workout that you can do is the one you're not doing. So, if you like to, let's say you like to go on walks. Well, going on walks is great, but could we add a little something to it? Could we add something? If you're not doing anything, try going on walks. Try something. Just do something. And even once we give you guys these workouts and you're 3 months in and you're doing great and you don't feel like going and doing a workout, hey, well, you don't have to do the full workout on that plan that day. Give yourself a break. We're all human. We're all learning. Just go out and do something. So that's important. What you aren't doing now, start doing it. And then also the best workout is, a little bit from my story previously, is the one that doesn't get you hurt. So before you guys get going, or if you get going and you're a weekend and you're just like, hey, I worked out 10 years ago. I never had knee pain. I never had these kind of things come up. Well, things kind of change over time. Like our minds are usually younger than our bodies, in a lot of ways. So get those things checked. I mean, if you have migraines, back pain, neck pain, if you're trying to do a workout and your elbow's hurting, or trying to grip things, or even shake hands with somebody, your elbow hurts, any of those things, old injuries you want to get looked at before you start a new workout, come on in, we'll take a look for you guys and help you out. One of the things that we do in the office is it's called shockwave therapy, and we're one of the few areas in the country that provides this, being able to treat injuries head to toe. The gist of shockwave, this picture here shows me working on my daughter with the shockwave therapy. I wanted this shot because it showed my hair, so I chose I didn't have any other ones on my phone, but so I'm actually treating her finger here. She had a fractured pinky, so we're doing that to stimulate bone growth. We basically want to get the bad cells out, the broken down cells, scar tissue inflammation. We want to stimulate stem cells to go to the area and the metabolic healing capacity of the body, ignite that so that the body can then heal itself. So shockwave for soft tissue injuries, muscles, strains, ligaments, tendons. One of the most important things that you can do, because we couldn't live without it, and it controls our number one best asset, which is our central nervous system, and that's our spine.
But no, so he's right. So I mean, if you're starting a workout program, and I have this happen all the time, where people start their workouts, and that's why we see them for the first time. They were like, oh, I was fine, I was doing everything properly. But if you think about it, if your body's not in a good alignment and you start working hard on that, you start pumping out sets, you start doing a lot of repetitions, whether it's walking, jogging, CrossFit, marathon training, whatever it is, if your body's not aligned properly, it's going to wear it on faster. There's an extra example that we'll pull up a picture for you guys, but this is what we see all the time. And people don't even realize that they have these problems. On the left is the first x-ray we took of this person, and her hips are shifted completely out of alignment. I mean, think about this for a second. Like, if you were to try to go out and run 5 miles a day and your hips looked like this on the inside, would you be doing more good or more harm for your body? You know what I mean? Right? It's a hard thing to say. It's like, well, I'm working out well and I'm moving these things, but what am I doing to my hips? And if they're in a bad alignment like this, I can tell you, we know you're going to make your hips worse over time. And this is the problem that I see with so many people, is we have these body warning signs, and instead of actually trying to correct the cause of them, we don't address them properly. So like, we try to push through the workout and just take anti-inflammatories, or we take a leave, or Tylenol before or after the workouts. And really the solution is, if you want a good long-term workout program, because I think workouts should not just have us looking good on the outside, they should make us healthy on the inside. Fixing the underlying cause of these problems and issues is what helps you get there in the long run. If it's a nagging knee issue, a hip issue, a back issue, whatever it is, not taking care of it is the absolute ticket to being laid up on a couch every time you try to work out hard. There's no way you can push yourself and do those things if you have these injuries and problems. So, if you guys have friends, if you're listening in, share this with friends who have these problems, or if it's you yourself, tell us what they are so we can work on them for you. We want to make sure everyone knows this, that if you fix these causes, it can make a massive difference when it comes to actually getting a quality workout and being able to sustain it for long-term health.
And I think that's also important to note too with that is, even if you're going to start a new workout routine, let's say you've never exercised before, it's really important to make sure that your body is in a good physical condition and alignment before you even start trying to do those things. A lot of athletes are like, or not even athletes, but just people in general, like, oh yeah, my New Year's resolution or my new goals, I'm going to do all these working out, and then a weekend, then they injure themselves, even though they've never had any issues before, because they didn't realize that those many years of inactivity and bad alignment was actually causing a lot of stress, and that activity that they did kind of was that last straw on the camel's back. So even if you were wanting to start something new and want to be intentional with it, definitely want to get that assessed and get it realigned, just like with your car.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was me. I played football growing up, and I took a lot of hard hits. And by the time that I went to see a chiropractor, I already had blown discs in my back. And, had someone told me before, then actually go get that problem fixed, it would have been a small alignment issue versus a massive alignment problem through there.
Totally.
Okay. So we're going to get into the 4 different types of exercise. So excited about this. We're going to walk through the research on all of these things. So there's a reason for the fact that there are literally different types of exercise that you should be doing. That's why I always have a problem when someone's focusing on only doing one thing. People will say all the time colloquially, oh, I'm in a gain season, so I'm just lifting heavy. Or no, I'm just doing a lot of cardio because I want to burn fat and I want to tone myself up. The reality is that you want to actually have a combination of all of these different types of fitness. That's what actually creates a healthy, long life. And so there's low intensity, there's moderate intensity, there's high intensity, and there's strength training. All of those put together, what it does is it tells your body to adapt to a plethora of different environments. And adaptation is the thing that keeps your body alive longer. Essentially, when we're working out with all these different types, what it's doing to our body is it's essentially pinging it and it's saying, hey, this is funny, but you're still needed. Don't die yet. That's literally what our body is telling ourselves when we're doing these different types of fitness. And so we want to honor that law of adaptation and make sure that we're doing these things properly. Okay. So you want to start on number 1?
Absolutely. So really the number 1 component of exercise is really low intensity exercise. And now this is something that sometimes, if you're a mom, you'll consider this an exercise. If you're chasing around your kids all day long, or if you're a teacher and you're standing around walking all day, or, your job has you outside all the time, we don't even usually think of it as exercise. Some people do, but oftentimes we don't think of it as this is just my daily activity, my daily work, like walking the dogs, going on a walk after you eat dinner or you eat lunch. And I mean, this is kind of like the boring stuff, kind of like the lima beans of exercise, but it's often overlooked, but it's very vital. And for the mass, this by the way, it's kind of for the vast majority of us, one of the big problems we have. Especially I've seen a lot with this last year where we've been forced to kind of be more stationary. We've gone from this culture where most people will get up, they get ready for work, they walk to their car, they drive to their office, they park in the parking lot, they get out of the car, walk to the building, walk up and down stairs, walk around the office to get water, go to the bathroom, go to the colleague's desk or wherever that is. And then you do all this stuff in the course of the day. Well, now all of a sudden people are finding themselves, they have like the entire radius of this room and they maybe walk 10 feet in any direction for most of their entire day. And the problem is our shift in our society, shift in our culture this year has made it even more difficult for us to be more, we have to be more intentional actually in order to do these things. But if you look at some of the healthiest country or parts of the world, if you guys have heard of those blue zones, these are people groups throughout different various parts where they have the longest longevity. They're some of the healthiest people alive. And one of the major components to that is the fact that their day-to-day lifestyles are active. This low intensity exercise, they don't sit in their homes watching TV all day long, watching Netflix, on their phones, scrolling through stories and through social media and Instagram and things like that. They're out, they're walking, they're walking to their fields, to their gardens. They're taking their animals out in the fields. They're socializing. They're walking from one neighbor's house to the next or from their house to their neighbor's house. They're walking into town. They're doing all these things, and they find that that's actually one of the major components for these longevity and for people to be healthy. Living in Europe and England for 5 years, I saw that a lot. I felt so great being there because everything is so close together, first of all, but people walk all the time or they ride bikes. You go to Scandinavian countries and Netherlands, like they have bike lanes or they have thousands of pedestrians just walking around all the time. It's more of that culture. And when we look at, I can't overestimate the importance of actually moving and walking, not just for feeling good, but for the health of your body. Thinking about kind of like what Dr. Thomas was talking about with your spine, to keep the discs, which are the cushions between your bones and your back, to keep those hydrated, you have to move it. It's the whole move it or lose it principle. If you don't move those discs, guess what happens to them? They start to wear out, they break down, they dehydrate. So you have to have movement. That's one of the only ways our discs actually stay hydrated, and your discs give you about 4 to 5 inches of your height. So if you think about as we age and as we get older, the more movement we do, the better posture we're going to have, right? But also the more likely that our discs are going to stay well hydrated, and we're less likely to end up like, your grandma who ends up at like 5'7" or 4'7", even though she started at like 5'5". It's also important for CSF flow, like it says here. This CSF is your cerebral spinal fluid. That's the fluid in your brain and your body that protects your spinal cord in your brain. So if you have a trauma or injury, or football players or athletes who get thrown around, this is what protects. Or poor Tara, whose little guy fell into a wall, I think it was, not too long ago, and got a concussion. That fluid, if that fluid isn't there, that's going to just shove our brains right up against our skulls. So it's really important to make sure that that system is flowing as much as we can, not just for adults, but for children, for babies, for everybody. And it helps to not only provide nutrition to the brain, but it also helps remove the waste products as well through your central nervous system.
Yeah, so you've got to move, and obviously you've got to move a lot more than you are now. There's a lot of research on this. I'll give you 3 big reasons just before we go to the next one. Number one, the average American sits 12.3 hours a day. That's the average. Most research shows that we should actually be moving 12 hours a day, not staying still 12 hours a day. And that's where the problem comes from. If we sit on average, it's 12.3 hours a day, and we sleep for 8 hours a day. I mean, how much are we actually moving? It's less than 4 hours of physical moving time. That's honestly, it's really sad. Yeah, you can sum this up in 4 simple words: move less, die faster. Okay, if you're writing things down. So we've got to make sure we do that. The second thing is low intensity exercise. It's literally what we're talking about. It's the lima beans. It's walking up and down stairs, moving around, having a standing desk. Dr. Marissa mentioned that sitting literally kills your spine, and it does. I mean, sitting will decrease your metabolism as much as 30 to 40%. We know people who sit at desks for more than 8 hours a day have a 90% increased risk of developing type 2 diabetes. With the same diets as the other people, they're just not moving, so their bodies are breaking down. Again, you move less, you die faster. And the third big tip when it comes to just moving more with this low intensity exercises, especially after meals. These are called postprandial exercise or postprandial walks. We know that when you move after you eat, it helps stop the massive spike in blood sugar that we get that's associated with eating a big bolus of meals, especially if you're eating carbohydrates, which go back to the last few master classes. You can hear our thoughts on excess carbohydrate consumption. You've got to walk afterwards. Anywhere from 10 minutes to an hour shows a big drop in how much your blood sugar spikes. So if you want to work on, preventing diabetes, which, a tenth of Americans are, a third of us are pre-diabetic, it's absolutely huge for doing that.
So you're saying I shouldn't sit and eat my dinner while I watch and binge on Hallmark Christmas movies?
Right. And then eat so much that you fall asleep afterwards. I know. Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, a big study from the American Cancer Society showed that if you just walk for 6 hours a week, it resulted in a lower overall risk of dying from cardiovascular disease in general. So it's super important. We always think working out means going and sweating at the gym, but really it starts with your daily decisions. Little quick thing on this, as we go into like moderate, high intensity strength training, here's how important low intensity exercise is. Most of the blue zones around the world where people live to over 100, they do not have gyms. You look at Sardinia, Italy, you look at Loma Linda, California, you look at Vilcabamba, like these places, they don't have gyms and weights to throw around. I mean, their exercise is their life. They're up and down mountains, they're up and down hills, they're carrying things. They are doing some of this in nature, but most of it is low intensity exercise. They've set up their lifestyle that forces them to move on a daily basis. So if you're at home, I encourage you, find a way to set up your lifestyle so that you're actively moving on a daily basis.
Yeah, I've actually, sorry, really quick. I've actually visited those. I was in Sardinia before, and I can totally attest to that. Even the houses that we stayed in, they were so remote. Unless you drove your car, we walked into town, and it was a 10-minute walk. So it wasn't like it was super far, but everything is set up. Like they have fields set up, they have in their towns. There aren't gyms, there aren't everything. Everything's nice and hilly, and just that's what people do. They walk. There's very few cars actually driving around. So I totally,
awesome.
I attest to that for sure.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Does anyone know why they call them blue zones?
I
don't. So.
I do. I can tell you exactly why.
Okay,
You want to know why?
Please tell me.
So they were actually, it was researchers. I won't spend long on this. It's nerdy. They were writing a book, and they were looking at finding the places where there were most people over 100, and they had a map out and they circled it with a blue marker. I'm not joking. That's literally how it stuck. Yeah. People who like Zac Efron would know that because he did a documentary on it. Yeah. So that's why. On to you, Dr. Matt.
Thanks for the fact check on that.
You're welcome. In the form of a question, I should answer.
So the second form of exercise is a little more exciting. You get to do some more fun activities, but it's called moderate intensive exercise, and it's to improve overall stamina, which increases what's called your aerobic capacity. So think about moderate exercise as something you do for about 30 minutes. Some examples would be yoga or light jog or a brisk walk, riding a bike, or even mowing the lawn. And then maybe some lower intense sports. I guess tennis is not maybe a low intensity, but soccer, badminton, something where you're getting a little bit of short bursts of movements where you're activating your muscles, but it's more of something you're getting a sweat out of. You're getting your heart rate up, and you're also using your muscles, and you're getting that movement there. So the goal for a weekly goal for, say, 30 to 40 minutes of exercise would be to do that 1 to 2 times a week. And then if you want to lengthen, again, we're looking at variations, is adding another hour to that. So something you do for 90 minutes, maybe 1 to 2 times a month, just to like improve that endurance levels, where you're giving your body a variation, you're asking your body to adapt to what you're throwing at it, and then it in turn is going to make those activities easy for you. We often think of working out as lifting weights, but what is your body really doing is your body wants that activity to be easier to do the next time you ask it to do it. So that's why it builds the muscle. That's why it creates this scenario where your heart is beating less when you're at rest, because you've been asking it to produce for you and do more work when you ask it to exercise.
But real quick on that, and that big thing too, when you're doing those high endurance, those long bursts, maybe 1 or 2 times a month, where you're going out, kayaking with your family, or you're doing a long hike, like 3 to 5 mile hike, like that, over 90 minutes to 120 minutes, you're going to start to deplete your body of glycogen as well, which is the stored sugar. So you're getting an adaptive response there too. So your body actually starts burning fat for fuel and start metabolizing and breaking that down. Not that we're all in danger of it, but you can actually do too much of like the endurance training and things like that, where you can actually break your body down more. As a side note, most of us are in danger of doing too little than too much, though. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, I've only seen rhabdo one time from somebody, somebody coming in because they over-exercise. That's not normally people's problem. So, okay, cool. Let's talk about, we're going to up the intensity a little bit, because we're going to talk about high intensity interval training. So this is a little bit more intense. It's the case where, just like it sounds, you do short intervals at a very high intensity, then you rest, and then do another one. So, what this does is it actually burns through your glycogen stores quickly, which glycogen is the storage form of glucose that the body uses and the muscles use for energy. So when you do this high intensity interval training, it actually does what's called metabolic conditioning. And through that process, by burning through your glycogen stores, you then go into lipolysis or fat burning, and then you can start using fat for fuel. So it used to be, hey, I have to go on a 90-minute walk because I got to keep this heart rate in a fat burning zone. I don't want to get too intense because then I'm not fat burning. If you ever looked at the treadmills at the gym, and they're like, if your heart rate is, I'm not sure exactly, 30% or whatever it is, you're in fat burning. I'm arguing just the opposite here with HIIT training, is that if you want to go into fat burning, you can do this workout in 15 minutes and you can be burning fat for the rest of the day. Your metabolic rate increases. So one example would be, let's say you do 30 seconds of body weight squats. You really want to do them as fast as you can. If you can carry on a conversation or say more than 1 or 2 words to somebody during that, then you're not going intense enough. The way that we measure it is basically you want to be about 80% of your of your max heart rate. The way you determine max heart rate, the simplest way is take the number 220 and subtract your age from it. But where are you at 80%? It's when you can't carry on a conversation because you're breathing so heavily. So really, anytime you're doing, let's say push-ups 30 seconds, body weight squats 30 seconds, lunges 30 seconds, even wall sit 30 seconds could classify for it depending on where you are in your workout. It's really all about short, high intensity, then resting, let your heart rate go back down, and then doing that again, doing those 30-second intervals over 7 to 15 minutes.
But a really cool part of that is because it has what's called the afterburn effect. Now, this really is what makes the HIIT training special and stand out against all other forms of classic cardio. Like you kind of see here on the picture on the left. So this classic cardio, it has this high metabolic intensity. So basically you're going to be, let's say, working for an hour. You're going to be increasing your metabolic rate because you're going to be working kind of moderate with that to high. You're burning some fat during the workout, but you're mostly just kind of replacing your sugar, your glycogen stores by doing this. And then after you're done working out, then it kind of drops off, like your metabolic rate drops off pretty quickly. You see that steep kind of drop off. Now, the afterburn effect, which for those listening, this is our keyword of the week. Afterburn. This is our last one. Afterburn. It's right on the screen. So with this, the difference is that people who do the high intensity interval training, they vastly burn more fat than those who just do classic cardio. And by vastly, I mean vastly. This is where I said you can get in amazing shape in less than an hour a week kind of thing, or hour a day sort of thing. They did a study in 1997 that showed a 12-week-long study, and they showed the HIIT versus the classic moderate cardio, and they showed people who did the HIIT training burned on average 3.1 pounds more fat than those who did classic cardio. So I'm not saying classic cardio is bad. I'm not saying you shouldn't go run. If you love to do that, I know some people find it very cathartic with, having some mental space to de-stress. But if you're really looking on trying to exercise for the fat burn effect, then adding in this high intensity interval training is going to be key in order to help you do that. In addition to the afterburn effect and helping you burn fat, there's also a really important one as well, is that this affects your heart rate variability. So this is very important for people, especially as we get older. People tend to have more heart issues or blood pressure issues or palpitations and things. Your heart rate variability is very closely associated with increased longevity. So what this means is your heart rate variability is how your heart is able to adapt to changes in your life. Like Dr. Matt mentioned, the idea of exercise is to help your body better recover and better cope. So if you have a better heart rate variability, that means your body's oxygen levels will be able to go up and down based on your metabolic needs or based on the situation. It helps your body to literally adapt to your environment better. And so the more that you increase your capacity for your heart rate variability, the healthier that you're going to be. So that's a really important part if you do have heart issues or you want to exercise. A lot of people exercise for the cardiovascular benefits. You are going to get way more cardiovascular benefits if you do the high intensity than just the classic cardio run on a treadmill sort of thing.
Yeah. So you're talking, increased heart rate variability. When you're doing HIIT training or high intensity interval training, you're going to be increasing your body's mitochondrial density. You're going to be increasing your VO2 max, which is your body's ability to process copious amounts of oxygen and get that to all of your cells. Doing HIIT training 2 days a week. So we've talked about low intensity, moderate, now HIIT 2 days a week. We're talking 2 12-minute workouts a week. It's going to get you this massive metabolic effect. Okay. So there's a little bit of a science to it. It's anywhere from 20 on 20 off to 30 on 20 off. If you guys are patients of ours and you guys got the bookmarks whenever you started here, some people don't know that there's 24 workouts programmed in those things that are all these HIIT workouts for you guys. Literally, if you go through 4 rounds of doing 20 on 20 off, 20 on 20 off, you're going to see an amazing result when it comes to like your metabolic density through that area. So Max T3, the program that we have, really teaches that. if you encompass that as part of your training with the rest of these, it's going to make a huge difference long term. So we get to go through the last one here. So we've gone through low, moderate, and high. People always ask, well, does strength training actually help me? Do I need to be lifting heavy to work on building my muscles? The short answer is yes, but what I would tell everyone at home is that lifting heavy doesn't mean that it's something that's beyond your capacity. Again, when we talk about not injuring yourself, the best workout to do is the one that doesn't land you in the emergency room, or honestly, land you here with a blown disc or something like that. We want to prevent those problems rather than hit them on the backside. So does strength training make you healthier? Absolutely. Is it important? Absolutely. There was a study done in 2003 that showed that having a good, strong grip strength was inversely related to mortality. So people with a stronger grip lived longer. There's more research showing that thigh diameter compared to your younger years makes a big difference when it comes to mortality. So essentially, if you measure around your thighs, and as you age, if you see that number, that measurement getting smaller, it increases your risk of dying early. The reason that strength training is so important is strength. Good amounts of strength helps balance your sex hormones. So your testosterone to estrogen levels. Whenever you have good amounts of muscle mass, you keep your testosterone at a higher level and stop it from declining like it naturally does as we age. So by keeping your body strong, by keeping it moving well, you're again telling your body, I need to be here. As testosterone levels drop, estrogen levels climb, which allows cortisol to increase as well. And that can cause a lot of oxidative stress on our body and cause a lot of problems through there. So we're going to go through strength training with you guys in specifics with like the different types of lifts so you guys understand what they are. And then we'll talk about how to do them safely as well. So
when I used to, so when we talk about working out, upper body and lower body, generally when we talk about upper body, we're talking about everything from the basically the chest muscles up, so your pec muscles and like your major muscle groups in the back as well. Lower body meaning everything from the waist down. So what does that look like? A press is anytime I'm basically bringing my arm out in front of me. So that could be like a shoulder press, bench press. A push up is a press exercise. Pulling. So pulling exercises would be things like rows, or like on the machine, the lat pull downs, or pull-ups. If you can't do a pull-up or haven't done a pull-up since you were 10 years old, you can use the machines that have the weights that help you. That's okay. And then you have your lower body pulls. So when we talk about lower body pulls, we're talking about using our glute muscles, low back muscles, and then, also kind of talking about the hamstrings, the muscles back there. A lot of times we get I see an imbalance in people with really strong quads, really strong chest, but then the back is really weak, and then the hamstrings and the glutes are weak, and that causes all sorts of biomechanical issues and things to go wrong.
It's very easily to get and low cost for these workout bands that allow you to creatively create these push-pull movements. You don't have to go to a gym and throw the heavy weights around like Dr. Thomas and Dr. Brett do.
Ugh, I just go in the sauna. I do my sauna workout. So, all right, strength training. This is really all about activating the muscles as much as you possibly can within reason without getting hurt. So you want to make sure it's a multi-joint exercise, meaning that if two joints are moving during the exercise, it's multi-joint. Basically what this does is by activating more muscles in a specific lift, it's going to increase muscle firing. So it's going to make the neurological connection to those muscles stronger. And it's also going to help hypertrophy the muscles. So 12 to 20 minutes of multi-joint exercises.
One of the best ways to begin a workout program would be to start with the basics, strengthening your core muscles, specifically around your stomach and then around your lower back. This creates a natural weight belt around your waist. It allows for rotational components, not only flexing forward and backward, bending side to side, but any kind of core musculature that you can enhance and strengthen is going to reduce your propensity for injury. And going throughout your day is going to require those movements. So any sort of work on your stomach or your lower back is going to be vital. And even stepping further back from that is the postural muscles in your neck and back are equally important. And that's one of the main things that we pride ourselves on here in the office, is that not only are we addressing someone's postural structural concerns, but we work with the muscles to help hold a person in better spinal alignment. So then those areas that are typically maybe a chronic problem are truly going to heal through those areas. It's not something, to be candid, that anyone can really figure out on your own. That's where spinal x-rays are often recommended, so we can see what position the spine currently is in and then how to properly correct it. If you look around at any sort of health and fitness websites where they're selling training aids or tools, they're often selling things that are to help with posture. So it's globally known that improving your posture is going to not only help with short-term health, but also with long-term health. So working on your core, your front and your back, as well as those spinal exercises are a great way to start from the center of your body. And then when you're working out with these high-intensity interval training, you're working on the muscles. There's nothing wrong with being vain and liking how you're feeling and looking after your workouts.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's so important to, like we talk about those spinal exercises, like they're not just good ideas. That's what keeps your spine in balance and prevents you from getting injured. There was a study so part of our group of doctors, Max Living Doctors, we went to Rio in 2016 and also to London in 2012 and worked with the athletes. And some of the research that was done on the judo athletes showed that after we adjusted them, after we worked on aligning their neck properly, they had a 20% increase in grip strength just after that. So it's about making sure that your spine's in a good position, those muscles around it are protected properly so they can fire when you ask them to. You know what I mean? Whether you're at the gym, whether you're sparring, whether you're living life, picking up your kids, whatever it is, that's what's really going to help you prevent an injury long-term, is keeping your spine in a good alignment, using those exercises, laying on the rolls, doing those things. Those weren't good ideas. Those are really important to keep your body here for a long time. Okay. For a minute, I want to, and Chris, you can keep this slide up for just like a little bit of time, maybe like a minute or so they can kind of get everything written down. How do we put this all together? So we talked about 4 different, kind of different styles of fitness. Putting it all together is really kind of like the cream on top of this, because all those things individually work well together, but how do you actually fit them into your week? Low intensity exercise, that is not something that there's a time cap on. That is just something that you are supposed to do throughout the day, every day. Yes, all the time. Like you said, I saw you mouth it, all the time. The question is, how do I change my lifestyle so that moving around is part of it? What do I have to do? How do you get out of the box of, your office to your bedroom if you're working at home, or if you're commuting, parking in the closest parking spot, only walking 10 feet, sitting at your desk all day? How do you break that cycle? That's going to be the biggest question to answer for yourself when it comes to living a long time. Because if you're sitting, 4, 5, 6, 8, 10 hours a day, all the amount of fitness in the world is not going to overcome that. And science shows that. So you've got to be moving throughout the day, every day. That's low intensity exercise. When we're talking about the other 3, we don't want you doing hours and hours and hours of these a day. Really being able to sustain it is a huge part of your success. So moderate exercise, your ideal routine for that is 1 to 2 times a week, where you're going out and you're doing some type of fitness activity that's fun, ideally speaking, so you enjoy it. Whether it's a recreational sport, whether it's a jog, whether it's a walk, whether it's, a physical thing of work as well. That's still moderate exercise. If you're building something, if you're mowing your lawn, that actually counts as exercise. So again, you can work this into your lifestyle and not think that exercise only happens in the gym. So 1 to 2 times a week, around 30 minutes is what I put in here. That's going to get you a great amount of aerobic conditioning. And then the one caveat with that is you want to try to challenge yourself once or twice a month to do a longer, more engaging fitness activity to deplete those glycogen stores. The next one, high intensity interval training. So ideally speaking, 2 days a week for HIIT training. So again, these are 12-minute workouts. If you want to include the warm-up and the cool-down and say that that's all the workout, it's 20 minutes maybe. But again, these are not things that you have to spend 2 hours in the gym every day to achieve. I think we all can find 20 minutes in our day. Tony Robbins famously said, if you can't find 20 minutes, then you need 2 hours because your day is too crammed. So high-intensity interval training twice a week for 12 minutes, and then strength training twice a week as well. There should be a minimum an upper body day or a lower body day, or a day where you combine pushing and pulling, both of those. 20 minutes. So if you add those up, not counting the fact that you're just low intensity exercising throughout the day, it's under an hour and 45 minutes a week of total exercise time. I think for most people, we can find in 178 hours a week time to fit that in. You know what I mean? Someone said, what's better, 2 hours of workouts a week or 24 hours of being dead? I'll take the 2 hours. You know what I mean? I'll take the longevity, the vitality that comes along with the time that we put in when it comes to this to make sure that we stay healthy overall. So this is something you guys can refer back to and look at this slide to make sure that this works for you. So I saw you pop it there, Chris. You look good.
Yeah, and if you guys are struggling with trying to find, like, where do I find that time? Oh, I have my blocks scheduled, or like I feel like my life is too crazy, then you need to actually literally take minute by minute or hour by hour, like how long it takes you to do all the different activities that you do in a day. From how long does it take you to actually get out of bed, to get ready for work? Listen, if you guys aren't traveling to work anymore, let's say you had a 15-minute commute normally to work, get up at the same time that you normally would have gotten up to go to your office and get ready and do a workout. So instead of using that commuting time, use it as a time to actually work out, right? Or do something like go walk the dog. Like, you can find the ways. You just have to make that a priority. And I'm not saying we're not all busy people, because we are, especially if you have families and kids and things like that. Get the kids involved. They love exercise. There's a workout online I do on YouTube where it's a 10-minute workout and it counts down as a timer. And my daughter always wants me to do that workout. And the whole time, for the whole 10 minutes, I'm doing the workout and she's running around me in circles. Like, that's all she does for 10 minutes. She runs in circles. They sometimes will try to do the push-ups and things like that. So get them involved. If you're making dinner and you're waiting for it to cook in the oven, just bust out some squats or do a quick little workout there.
What about playing Just Dance on a video game? Does that count?
That counts.
Okay.
Absolutely.
That's how I hurt myself. You don't stretch, you're going to pull a hammy. So to kind of wrap up here, a couple supplements you want to consider if you're starting a fitness plan. If you're considering, depending on your fitness level, adding in a good whey protein, whether it's derived from bone broth, like our bone broth whey, or a grass-fed whey, is a great way that after a workout, getting in protein helps with muscle hypertrophy. It helps your muscles recover. So a great thing to add in. The second thing to consider is L-carnitine. So L-carnitine is what actually helps to shuttle fat across your body's cellular membrane and actually oxidize it and burn it for fuel. So a lot of us, whenever we're starting to work out and doing these HIIT training workouts, there's a couple things that can actually block that from happening. And one of it is if our body's not used to metabolizing and burning fat effectively, adding in and actually supplementing with L-carnitine for the first month helps shuttle the fat more regularly into your cellular membrane so you can actually start to break it down and utilize it as a fuel source. A lot of people who do our health coaching with us or start the advanced plan of the ketogenic diet, they're very familiar with that because, again, toxins can kind of build up in your fat and it becomes kind of hard to burn those. So making sure that you're actually shuttling fat appropriately, because you will, if you're doing high intensity interval training, strength training, all of these things, you're going to be needing those things. The other thing that we just released about 6 months ago that's been amazing for patients is something called metabolic spurn. So we combined Garcinia green tea extract, a lot of other herbs that actually help your body self-regulate and kind of upregulate its own metabolism. For a lot of us, if we happen to be more sessile, which kind of our world promotes, it's a great way to start kickstarting your metabolism so you can actually raise it up more and more kind of on a natural level without adding in a lot of crazy things. The next thing is if you're looking at this and saying, I'm doing these things and I'm also doing, a ketogenic diet or a more advanced diet, some of the things that you might want to look at adding in, especially if you're getting into this training regimen, is something like electrolytes. Potassium, sodium, magnesium are very important for that balance of, sodium inside of the body, water retention. If you're low in electrolytes, that's when you feel really like groggy or kind of run down after a workout. You feel lightheaded. That's kind of a warning sign that you need to make sure that you're getting ample amounts of those. I think all too often on our diet, we kind of take those things out because we're told, salt's the enemy, or, you want to stay away from bananas because they have too much sugar. There's a lot of good vegetables that have them in there, but we also have straight liquid electrolytes. So if you're doing like a shake or a smoothie afterwards, you can add some of those and it works out really well.
And those would be way better for you than the colored, sugary, highly marketed things you see on TV.
Oh my gosh,
where
little,
athletes are drinking.
Yes, with massive amounts of sucralose in them.
Yes.
Yeah, terrible. And then we have a whole keto line now of MCT oil and keto bars. So if you're doing this, you can do strength training on keto. You can do HIIT training on keto. We have MCT oil and keto bars that are actually certified ketogenic bars that actually taste really good. Those things will really help you along your journey as well. As we kind of wrap this up, our whole goal with you guys is to take this masterclass and start applying it to your daily life to get amazing results for you guys. We are introducing, though, in January, a challenge to go through this with you. So our team, we've been working to create kind of a whole checklist protocol of going through a grocery store, filling your pantry properly, engaging and working out on a fitness plan and being held accountable to it, changing your diet and your nutrition plan around. So we're going to introduce a new challenge that's going to be called New Year, New You. And January 16th, we're going to be doing 1, 2, or 3 challenge classes in our office on a Saturday. So this is going to be small group style, all focused on honing in on getting you to meet and reach your health goals. So hopefully through the holidays, you're implementing these things. But if they're not 100% dialed in and perfect, we're going to help coach you guys through these next level in January. So make sure that you save the date for that. We have early bird tickets on sale now. The entire challenge is going to be $59 till the end of the year. If you buy one ticket, you get one free ticket for a friend to come in. And then we'll also be doing discounts on our lab testing at that time. So if you want to look at your underlying metabolic conditions, where you're nutritionally deficient, where your testosterone levels are, get those biomarkers so you know exactly how to dial in your diet and nutrition. We'll have that available as well. And then we'll also be able to give you coaching through that to support you in making these health changes. We've been working this entire year on actually launching an official health coaching and nutrition platform. In January is officially when it starts. So I'm really excited for the future of this and how it's going to help change your life and impact you and your friends and family's life as well. So from all of us here, we want to say thank you so much. And we appreciate all you guys. Have a great night. We'll see you guys soon.